Hi.
Nice.
I thought since I couldn't be a.
Hi, Britt, can you hear us okay?
I'd be a pedestrian.
Then you're all dressed in black.
I need to have some sort of blinker walking around town. There's nothing reflective on.
Yeah.
I'm always good at that with my bike, but not one.
My wife had one of this. Like on, I try to go out where I don't need it. Well, maybe you should do this more often.
I'm not used to being in the dark. It always catches me each year, you know?
Yeah.
It's amazing how fast the temperatures drop when the sun goes down. Wow. I was looking in the area and started talking about, oh, it's getting cold.
So Britt's on the couch by herself, huh?
Oh, there she is.
Hi, Brett.
Hi.
Look, Carl.
Yeah.
Britt, you'll actually be our help. Can you hear everybody that's talking?
We got a cold.
It actually sounds and looks a lot better than it used to.
Cool. That's the intention.
Where's,
It's so that camera thing right
Oh,
there.
yeah, yeah.
Am I better off?
it looks like a chin rest.
It picks up pretty much everything, but yeah, it might be better the closer the better. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you might want to move this way.
Did you just get off work, Mindy?
I ran home and changed, but yes, I did just get off work, so, yeah. Okay, well, I think we're all here. So I'll call the meeting to order. And so are we recording? Yes, we are. Great. And Jeff, thank you for taking minutes tonight.
All over.
Okay. And thank you all for being here. And great, good luck tonight. We hope things turn out very well.
I'm sure it'll turn out the way it's supposed to.
Okay. So, all right. First of all, thank you also to Cliff for minutes for our October meeting. And any comments on the minutes or corrections?
If there's no corrections,
Well, wait a minute.
okay.
I do have a correction that I think for clarity's sake, because it'll be important for process, I would suggest the just under development and sidewalks and Emma's report regarding the meeting from September 16th. I would say after here where it says planning staff will share the request, for clarity's sake, I move that we say during department agency comment phase, planning staff will share their request for agency comments with committee members by email. And then I would strike any comments, and it would be individuals' comments or questions can be directed to the planning staff, blah, blah, blah. And this has to do with process, and because we will be commenting as individuals, not as a committee. So does that sound?
It sounds clear to me, yeah.
I see you have some notes there in front of you on that. Will you hand that to, is it Cliff would correct the minutes then? Or is it Jeff? Anyway, I would suggest at the end of the meeting, you hand the notes to them so they can make the corrections.
Great. I'm sitting here wondering if.
You can do it or I can do it. If I do it, I'll just take what you put down.
I can also, I can type it out in an email tomorrow and send it.
That would be true.
And then it's
Okay.
on the.
Yeah.
Okay.
That'd be great.
So yeah.
I revised that 3 times.
Yes.
And you did a fine job.
No.
See, I know where he's going with this, that we shouldn't let him do this again.
No, you did a wonderful
I thought
job.
you did excellent. Probably the best minutes I've seen yet.
We'll put him down for double next time.
Yeah.
And since Rick's in charge of the list,
Okay, so therefore, yeah, any other comment? And
If not, may I make a motion?
yes, please.
Make a
Chris.
motion that we accept the minutes as revised.
second.
Thank you. And any objections? All in favor? Thank you. All right. Minutes approved with corrections. Otherwise, public comment phase. Looks like no guests tonight. So on to, no new business was registered unless someone has a comment. Otherwise, we'll go on to staff and council update. Oops, sorry, that should not say Tyler, it should say Emma. Sorry about that, Emma. Okay.
We'll just show you how long we'll remember you.
If it takes me a couple months to get on the list, then. Does Jeff have a separate agenda item?
No, we asked Jeff to come in and we were just gonna talk about it on development
Oh,
and
okay, so I should
sidewalk.
just do general.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So let me, I have a list.
Oh, yes,
Sorry.
and welcome, Jeff. Thank you.
So I know that last meeting, we briefly talked about Walnut Street and kind of the concerns for those designs relative to cyclists because of that incident that happened in Portland recently. So I did a little bit of digging into it, and I found Brian is the planner in charge, and he actually put together a pretty good visual for folks.
You're talking about the Walnut Street extension?
Yes. Britt, I'm sorry, I don't have a
Take a snapshot in your mind. Okay.
But so, I mean, this is very conceptual and high level. It seems, from what I can tell, it appears to be, they have a cross section, but I cannot quite tell yet what the intersection plans are and if they're already designed. And my thought to address it any ways was that if you all could share with me, kind of give me some key points to highlight what your concerns are about the intersections of Walnut Street, I can relay that to the correct staff to have that consider that wherever they may be at. So I know that we briefly talked about was it left turns? Trucks making left turns?
Especially semis.
Oh, yeah, yep. And
And you can see there is going to be a bike lane in the typical cross section that's shown here for this.
So is there a
extension.
light right there at Walnut Street first where the extension, is that where that light is, or is it at 99?
Or is there a light? I don't think there is there?
Well, it says the new traffic symbol is planned, but the new
Only at
Walnut
99.
Street, Walnut
Oh,
Street
yeah, there's
intersection with Oregon
Yeah, a new
99, so
intersection.
answer my
There will be
own question.
There will be a light.
Yeah, okay.
So there's no lights
so
or
where it meets
anything
99.
at first, so that's just a stop sign.
I would assume so, yes.
Does the existing Walnut Street have bike lanes?
I don't know.
Don't think so.
We can try.
I think there's a bike lane on a little bit of the street, like right by Columbia Distributing. And that's it. There's just a little section, but I can say it's very wide where that intersection is, where Walnut meets first is like, and there's the sidewalk, and it just seems, that part feels really safe, but then it's kind of like you just lose that when you go a little further.
But I've also seen semis park on that street, and it still seems wide, but if that develops more, and you get more truck parking on that street, if it's on both sides, all of a sudden you don't have a wide street anymore.
Well, the city can control which streets it permits trucks on.
Right.
So that's something that can be addressed, and I don't think anybody would want to have the trucks impinging upon bike lanes. But that's something that we can take into some design considerations. I'm not sure of who parks on the streets anymore. It's certainly not Columbia Distributing people. It may be, what are the freelancers called? But I know we used to have some,
Independence.
I know we used to have some parking where the Canby utility building is now on that street, but that was designated for some reason as a place where trucks could park overnight. But as we get more developed, we need to be a little more particular about these things, so that's a good thing to capture.
So the way this looks with the typical cross-section of the new extension, there is no parking along the new extension anywhere that matches this.
Yeah.
Because it's right, I mean, the bike lane's right up against the travel lane, and then you get curb and 5 feet, and then sidewalk.
Cross-section looks good.
I have a question or a thought, just brainstorming, since this is kind of where we're at now. What about, and expense, has a lot to do with this too. I don't want to look to make it more expensive, but what if you moved that bike lane over closer on the other side of the tree with the sidewalk? Granted, the sidewalk is cement and the bike lane is asphalt, but
So it'd be a protected bike lane, because it would have a. curb
Exactly.
between it.
Or you would use the term cycle track.
yeah, I mean, what if you only, or put a cycle track on one side and, I don't know, because, I mean, number one, also, or number two, you're going out to 99E, which is basically a T intersection. It's important to protect cyclists and walkers, and you don't know what's going to develop across the way or anything like that, but
Well,
I mean,
there is a general assumption that there will be multifamily housing
oh, yeah, that's
in
right,
this.
right in there. So,
So that's mainly going to be serving as a way to,
yeah,
I mean, of course, we all would love to have dedicated bike lanes on 99 or some way out of the,
yeah,
either ODOT or the train. But realistically, what this is going to do is allow pedestrian and bicycle ventilation.
yes. And it'll probably, I mean, hopefully, wherever they go, towards 99 or maybe more likely towards First Avenue, whatever. But yeah, I don't know, what's the thoughts from the committee and Jeff too, if you have input and
Viewing the site here.
I just want to clarify quickly, like, I don't know if the cross-section is kind of up for changes at this stage or in any stage. And
Well,
so,
we're the Citizen Advisory Committee and we should at least comment on it.
yeah, I understand that, and I'm not saying we shouldn't comment on it, but I guess my assumption was maybe instead of kind of having, I agree, something like we would like to see bike lanes protected, we would like to, as a user of many intersections with bike lanes in the city, I feel most comfortable when a bike lane functions like this and has this kind of relationship with the intersection.
Mhm.
Does that make sense? So I feel it is most comfortable as a cyclist to have protected bike lanes, and that's what we feel is
And I
important.
think as a committee, we are also asking the question if it's, what is practical and feasible and safe, because this is an industrial way, the industrial traffic going through density is what it's going to be.
I would like to make a comment,
Yeah.
and that is, my concern is semis coming out to 99E, making a right turn. I had a friend who was killed by a semi-truck, FedEx truck, making a right turn. And the trouble with the semi-truck is when it turns, the trailer cuts in.
Yeah.
He was in the bike lane. He got ran over.
Yeah.
And so
And he was
this
an
is,
experienced.
he was a very experienced cyclist. He rode a lot more than I did. And so this is that potential spot, and that was one reason why if you had a cycle track and had it separated, it would be more protection, because you will have truck traffic making a right turn there. And that's my concern there. The rest of it looks pretty good.
I always get the name wrong. Is it Bollards?
Bollards. Yeah.
Bollards. Yeah, I was thinking whether that would be possible as well. We've looked at it in some other places, but.
Bruce, can you clarify for me quickly, when you're talking about right turn, are you talking about like getting access, or are you talking
I'm
about?
talking the right turn
at the
here on the
intersection?
99E.
Okay.
These, I think, are not that sharp. So it's not like vacation, but this is going to be a sharp right-hand turn. And when you have a double,
Mhm.
that second trailer cuts way in. And I'll tell you, as an experienced cyclist, I don't get near one. I get the heck out of it. I don't care if I'm in a bike lane or not. Just don't get near a semi who's making a turn.
Thank you.
And the bollard suggestion might be something to consider. I mean, there's design experts who know a lot more than,
But I've also seen semis jump curbs making their turns.
yeah.
You can, several places. So that was my concern and why I thought a cycle track would be a good idea. Or have it maybe wrap up as you approach. I mean, maybe it's not feasible for the whole length, but what if the last 100 feet is that way as you approach 99?
I'm trying to figure out what sort of bicycle traffic would be going between 99E on this road.
Currently, I don't see a lot of it. However,
Yeah.
we gotta think 30 years from now.
I'm with you. I'm with you in terms of that. So,
And in 30 years from now, there will be
something.
Well, we said there's gonna be homes in this area that's gonna have families in this area that are going, in this area here that right now is largely undeveloped, will be developed, and they're gonna go from here to here. Unquestionable, right? It may not be today, but just like you said, it's what is going to happen. And we have this problem today with stuff that was put in 30 years ago that today, now you go down that road to get to something that's there now that was never there.
Yeah.
And so I think what Bruce is saying is very valid.
Yeah. I mean, and this is going to be the major feed into our industrial park. So there's some import here, not that we want to encourage cyclists there, but, you're going to have some inexperienced person who thinks, I'm going to ride my bike over to Wranglers or wherever,
We don't know what the next business is gonna be there, right?
Yeah,
It's been
exactly.
10,000 times, but Britt had her hand up.
Britt wants to talk.
Oh, Britt, go ahead, sorry.
I have a question. Where Walnut hooks up to 99, will there be, what if you were to cross over 99, is there going to be a road on the other side of 99? Because where I'm going with this is, with me I live on Bremer Road. If I ride my bike into town, I either go territorial and cross over 99 there, or do the go by Fred Meyer area or go down Walnut and that way. I don't think I would want to, if there's a continuation to Walnut to 99, I don't think I'd want to go that way because I don't enjoy riding down 99. And so I want to be getting into downtown without going on 99. So if there's not any way to get into town without going on 99, then it may just be irrelevant because people may want to go take the other roads.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's today, but what happens when they put the Bi-Mart there and a bunch of other stuff right there where it's undeveloped?
It's not zoned for that.
Oh, okay.
It's zoned residential all the way to 99.
Is it? Okay.
Oh, on the south side of things.
Yeah.
Oh, no, there is a commercial strip, yes, from 99, but I don't think we'll be
It's,
deep enough for,
it's got a comp
And there's going to be density housing, multifamily housing on both sides, most likely?
we're not sure of that.
Okay,
We're working on a concept plan for that area,
okay.
but it's the council's hope that this will be a way for us to try and address some of the affordability housing issues that we've been going out. One thing I've found in 12 years is that the only place we can build apartments is places where people don't already live. Behind Fred Meyer, downtown, otherwise you run into geographical bias, as I call it. I call it NIMBY. I try to avoid that word. Okay.
So
I just, I'm sorry, I don't want to, so to reiterate the concerns to share with other staff, it seems like right turns and semis and the radius and them kind of encroaching into the bike lane when they're making the turns. A desire for protected bike lanes with an emphasis towards approaching the intersections where possible.
Yeah, this is an opportunity, as I told you when you first came aboard, to engineer something that we've never done before. We've never had an industrial area with a bike lane and then planning it to be residential. This is something brand new. And so my shorthand for this, taking it back to the staff, would be that I think the committee sees this as having three audiences and just what is possible to do to avoid as much conflict as well as plan for future expansion. And there may be some limitations, both in terms of right of way, in terms of expenses and that sort of thing, but I always like to swing for as far as we can on these things, because that's this committee's job, is to say, what is the ultimate thing? And we've got big trucks, we got little people, and we've got bikes.
Yeah, and you're going to have, these are going to be families without a second car. So there's going to be a lot of pedestrian and bike traffic trying to get to town. I'm hoping that they won't go 90-90, but they'll go the other direction. But anyway, and industrial traffic interface. And so we just see importance of careful planning.
Mindy, you brought up a great point. Now would be the time to talk about having staff take a look at where the transit stops are going to be.
Oh, yeah.
So we don't have to remediate it like we're doing now, putting in transit stops, malls, shelters, thank you.
Yeah.
But if it's not too late, of even having indents where the bus can go.
Yeah.
Because that's the real goal of this, is to be able to offer this to people who say only have one car and could use our expanded transit.
And I'm hoping we're kind of in the right phase at step 2, that these are preliminary plans. I hope I might be further along than that.
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So thank you for bringing this to us. And anyway.
And we're talking about not running 90-90. However, with 205 tolling, there will probably be money coming to Camden. You might see some improvements, in which case we might see bike lanes along the highway. Not my favorite place to ride, but we're looking out into the future. And we shouldn't say this is how it is today. We gotta look out far enough ahead. And I think, at least a cycle track, the last 100 feet, you'd have your bike lane and just have it diverge up along next to the sidewalk and have the planters continue, and just kind of cross over.
And Emma, at one point, it's my understanding that Union Pacific was willing to cede part of its right-of-way if there was a completely enclosed, fenced area of a bike lane adjacent to the railroad tracks, and that was deemed as being too expensive. So there are concepts out there that I have not yet given up on of a bike highway, which may already say and can do.
Quick question, Greg or Jeff, do you know, is the intention that the city is building this piece of the extension, correct?
Correct.
And then the developer would take care of the rest of whatever is proposed into it? Okay.
And is this, yeah, and I mean, yeah, I think,
The intersection, yeah, well, I was just curious from a transit perspective of, is it a policy or is it a city driven? But it sounds like it's a city. Although I'm not sure we know where transit is planning to do stuff. So.
No, but I've talked to our transit director,
Yeah.
saying that it's my very fond wish that as we expand and annex, especially when we have high density, that we adjust our transit routes.
Yes, so.
Would it be appropriate to make a motion that we recommend a cycle track in the last 100 feet and to the junction of 99 East? So it'll be in the minutes.
Sure. Is that?
Can you restate what you just said?
In the last 150 feet, as you approach 99 East, the bike lane would convert over to a cycle track.
Separated cycle.
Yeah,
A protected bike lane or a cycle track?
it's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
I thought a cycle track was slightly raised up. Is that incorrect?
It could be.
It's not a,
I mean, I see it is diverging over next to the sidewalk.
okay, so
And so that would
separate,
be,
not just protected with like bollards or there's constant.
yeah, bollards are gonna do it, because a bollard would get flattened by a semi real quick.
True.
Yes, that's true.
Is there a second? Is there a second to that motion, Cliff? Thank you. Any discussion on the point? Did you have a comment or?
No, I was just seconding.
Oh, thank you. We got Cliff, thanks though. Any further comment or discussion on the motion? Otherwise, all in favor? Thank you, that was unanimous. And thank you very much for that, Emma.
Yeah.
Appreciate that, and continuing with any further.
I will keep you updated, yeah. And then the only other staff update I have is I know we last time talked about we finally have the kind of comment period and plan of how that's going to happen underway. There are no pending applications that would warrant the comments up through the end of this year. So we haven't forgot about you, they just aren't happening yet. We have an annexation coming next week, but that's like a high-level application and none of the criteria are related to what's happening on the street at that point. So that annexation will eventually have to get another application to decide what's going to happen on the ground. So at that point, we're clear. So yeah, I don't know exactly. I don't think we have any hearings planned yet for applications of that size, but hopefully early next year you will see an application or two to have comments on.
And
Greg, did you have?
Just a couple of minor things. The council authorized $180,000 to outfit all of our officers with body cameras. And this is, the arc of this is so interesting, is that 10 years ago, when this was initially going across the country, the police departments really didn't want to have this happen. Now, the biggest advocates are the police officers, that they really do want to have authentic, calibrated records of their encounters. So we bought the equipment, we're buying the equipment, and apparently they've got the world's greatest whiz-bang software that's going to catalog this and archive it and all of this other stuff. I warned them. Sometimes these things don't always work out that way, but you've got a lot of tape, you have a lot of time markings, and you have public records requests, you have to be able to take minors out of it. Supposedly the software can pixelate, all that stuff. So I said, good luck with that, but anyway, next year we'll have all of our officers with body cameras. In case you haven't been noticing, we have been continuing to expand the diversity of our police force. More people of color have joined us, and bilingual people, so it is a police force that I am very proud of. We always have to think about doomsday, so in the event that City Hall is demolished by an earthquake, we have now gone into a cloud-based system that will have all of our servers in the cloud, so that assuming we have electricity and an internet connection, we'll be able to communicate with each other. Not exactly the sexiest thing around, but we've been trying to invest some of our ARPA funds into making the facilities more resilient. And then, let's see, I had one other thing that, we dedicated the arch and the quiet zone. And that began with an idea I had 11 years ago when I came back from Des Moines, Iowa, and saw a small town and how this had given them a sense of place. And also, just like West Village, Iowa, it was built next to a railroad track. And I was talking to the mayor of West Village, and the train came by and didn't knock its horn. I said, how did you do that? And so that began a decade-long process that we finally wrapped up. If you have not seen it yet, go down to the arch. We have faux plaques right now because the bronze engraving isn't quite done. Jamie Stickle, being the brilliant person she is, went down there and had copies of them made in plexiglass and inserted. But the language that we consulted with the Grand Ronde tribe, they gave us the language for original peoples here, but also the history of the downtown, the history of the railroad on each of the sides of the pillars is a historic description of Canby. This has turned out so much better than we had imagined. And the engineer architect who designed the Dahlia design of the arch is now on contract to do the graphic design for the logging road bridge. So in addition to finally getting that painted and the rust spots gone, we're also going to have an artistic relief, which she says she's going to try and replicate that as our brand. So that's what I got.
That's nice, and it being the same artist, she'll tie things well together.
That'll be our brand.
Italian. North America's largest aviafield.
Okay.
Time capsule too.
Please don't get me started on the time. How the littlest thing can turn into so much red tape.
Thank you very much. That's very exciting. Also, so when does the painting, is it scheduled yet?
That's this guy.
We're in the very preliminary stages of that
Yeah.
right now. We're getting cost estimates done at this point.
Yeah.
It's like everything else you try to do, we have a ballpark of what's gonna cost, well, just times that by 4, so.
Yeah.
Kind of what we're running into, seeing what we can do there. So I have nothing concrete to relate forward at this point, but even just the painting of the bridge is pretty astronomical.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's okay, come back and ask for more money.
There's probably kits that we can pick up in Portland and do it for free.
Yeah, just,
No, They'll spray cans, and they'd be right there.
And in addition, of course, remember, we're going to have a flyway come down off the bridge. And on
That's
95.
important.
So
correct.
That's,
That's what it's called?
I don't know.
An access point.
I make these words up.
yeah.
I like that, by the way.
That's-
If you're going down.
Wow.
If you're going up, it's not gonna be a flyway.
Oh, that's terrific. So, moving on to developments and sidewalks, and so Bruce, and I know that you had chatted with Jeff, and Jeff, you got a little, we had the concern about the bump out, and you guys are taking care of that. What's the word?
Can we bring everybody else in on this? I know what
Yeah,
you're talking
go right
about,
ahead.
but, okay,
It's into the bike lane?
right. They created the sidewalk along Territorial at the crossing of the logging road. They have now constructed a bump out, so it comes into the bike lane. And the idea is, and bump outs, the good side of it, it does make things, traffic slow down. There is a positive side. But when it interferes with the bike lane where a bike can't get through, the cyclist is then forced into the traffic lane. And the one thing a cyclist wants to do to be safe is be predictable. And all of a sudden having to veer into traffic isn't predictable. So that was a concern I talked to Jeff about, and it got overlooked. Apparently. I didn't.
Oh, we're not looking at you,
No,
but.
I have comments when you're done.
Okay, and so I went to Jeff with this, and Jeff, without an appointment, took me and was very receptive and listened, and that's where I left it. I didn't hear back. I know he went to Mindy, so I'm gonna stop and hear what's happened here.
I started asking questions as soon as you left, and from what I understand, I kind of came in the middle of this project. We're going to create the same atmosphere on the other side of the road too. So there'll be a bump out. We are choking it down, my understanding. And so we will go with a Sharrow on each side of the road then. I guess you guys all know what those words, they had to explain it to me. Like I said, I'm kind of new to this, so have a Sharrow. It's just, apparently, according to our engineer, we have enough room to make this work. The reason they went that route was because, just like you said, slowing down the traffic. And then they had to look at where would most of the youth be on this road, as far as where would you let your kids go? Probably going to be the Forest Road rather than Territorial Road. So they want to slow traffic down and just make it safe for, the pedestrians on the Forest Road. I know that was a concern of yours, that it was a Forest Road crossing. So that was the thought process that I understood.
Okay, we talked about maybe they're not gonna be able, because it's doing on both sides, they can't move the bike, you can't shift that fog line or the bike lane over a little bit to kind of get a little more space around that.
They're going to, yes.
Are they?
Yes,
Okay.
it's gonna swoop in and narrow up at that point right there.
Okay,
to my understanding, but we have construction to do on the other side of the road also, so I'm not sure when that's gonna happen. We haven't even got the construction people out of that project yet, so.
So you can't cut the bike lane through the bump out?
Kind of, no, at this point, that wasn't an
too
option.
late.
Really, that seems like Jerry's answer to things, is just
Just cut your way
cut
through it.
your way through it.
Yeah. They did put thought into it though, and,
But they would have just, 2 less feet would have been reasonable.
right.
Well, it is what it is. The one good thing is that I talked to planning director Don Hardy about this, and I said, no, come on, the committee is really sensitive about getting a review of these things. And he said, you know, we're very conscious of that. Well, this is something that we initiated, is our project, and isn't a development project. But he said, we're gonna have to roll those into what we put in front of the committees as well.
That was the other concern I had. Was
Yeah,
we didn't
kind of
we didn't have any
going
idea what's going on.
Yeah.
And even in the old days, when the committee was getting material, it wasn't getting internal public works projects. But because of this, planning director Hardy says he will be doing that.
And
Thank you.
You know, something, one of your.
No, I know, and I knew it when I went in, but it was kind of like, how can we make the best out of this situation?
yeah,
And so,
Well, what I thought was so magnificent about this is that we have such a sophisticated committee now, that when somebody runs across something, instead of having to write me or write a letter to the city manager, he walked down the street and talked to Jeff and said, hey, here's what's going on. I just think that is the way a city
Well,
should operate.
I think it's as
well,
much.
I want to compliment Jeff again.
Public Works.
They work by appointment only. I walked in without an appointment, and he still saw
I knew
me.
you were.
I know, and I, so I really appreciated that. Thank you.
And yeah, my concern and comment on this is bump outs are important, you know, but it is this ongoing struggle that, you know, they push bikes into, they often push bikes into traffic. And, you know, this is not an unusual situation. This is kind of, you know, no design is perfect.
Right.
You know, but what's the best way in the future? So, yeah,
I could be talking out of turn here.
please
but
go ahead.
I believe we were calling matching the design standards, which was probably required of the people across the road. So we're just trying to make it uniform through there.
Yeah.
I believe our lane width is over 16 feet. We need, as this one even says, 12 foot, that's leaving us a 4 foot for the bike lane. It's still gonna have to do
Oh.
something like that.
Yeah,
But you got a line,
And a
it
share.
tells traffic that's what's going to happen.
yeah,
Correct, there will be a line. This was not that's what I was searching for, that they were down, there was a striping plan,
Mhm.
and it just wasn't in this phase of the project, so.
yeah. So I have a question.
Yeah.
So just like we were saying, oh man, you know, a bump out that has the bike lane that can go through it, is that a lot more expensive? Does it depend on how wide things are? I mean, how practical or impractical is that? So we need to get ourselves a little educated here so that we
And I will
know.
have to educate
if we're-
myself also, but I mean, here we have pedestrians showing themselves out on a point. I don't know about a bike zipping behind them, in
Yeah.
front of them. I think we might have issues there.
Yeah.
You know, I never heard of not a cyclist, I don't know what it was
A
a
share.
cycle
Oh.
lane, but I'm gonna go
Cycle
back.
track.
Yeah.
And I've never heard of that before, but I started thinking, like, even for like the Walnut thing, you have something designated, how does that work when you come to cross streets and that? I mean, I'm assuming you guys are gonna wanna go right through with the flow of traffic, so if you're not out close to traffic, is it more
Look
dangerous?
along Sunnyside Road,
Mhm.
next to the Clackamas Town Center, there's a cycle track.
But Jeff, it does raise an interesting
Yeah.
point of having been in Amsterdam and Barcelona, where they
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
have separate bike lanes. The real challenge is to the pedestrians.
That's right.
because these people are going 25, 35 miles an hour, and it goes up to the sidewalk, then there is this dedicated area for bikes. But the most dangerous part of me getting around town was bikes, watching out for bikes spattering me.
Yeah, the worst thing about cycle tracks is, as a pedestrian, if you're not used to them, you wander off into the cycle track, and you're not in your pedestrian area, and I did it in Amsterdam a couple times.
Yeah. And, you know, Emma, you might be right in that a lot of these cycle tracks are elevated like a sidewalk is, because it is flush with the sidewalk, is that right?
That was kind of a little more, or even like separated from the sidewalk and kind of has its own,
No.
you know.
Little raised, yeah.
West Lane, has anybody went to West Lane and seen their bike lane?
Yeah, or I ride through there.
You know,
mean
they've got the sidewalk and they've got
Willamette?
yeah.
Yeah, so they have a paved section, right adjacent, or on the level of and so you have your cement sidewalk and the raised bike section, and then the trees, and then the head in, and then,
So your planter strips by the vehicle lane.
Right.
It's a magnificent design.
yeah. But that's in a commercial area. Yeah. But what we noticed, and I just think it's just worth sharing, that seemed very helpful. Russ shared it with the committee, and we should, I don't know if you've seen it or not, I should forward it to you. But what was really interesting was seeing when you have a bike path or a sidewalk, or both, where you're having traffic crossing it, they, instead of just painting that sidewalk up so it looks like part of, paint on the road, they had it look like it was really the road that was crossing the bike path and the stuff, so that it slowed the traffic down more, because they were going, oh, I'm passing, I'm crossing where there's bike and pedestrian traffic, rather than they need to watch out for us, even though we don't want people to think that of a crosswalk, but you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Essentially,
So it was interesting, go ahead.
essentially, it's kind of like a speed bump. It's for the sidewalk or for the cycle track to cross. And the speed bump tells the motor vehicle driver, hey,
So elevated,
yeah, elevate, it's a speed bump.
Well, it's kind of like 13.
13th.
Yeah, 13th, but they didn't put them at the intersections.
One of them is,
I don't think any of them.
oh, I thought one was.
I don't think any of them.
I heard.
Anyway, just
Yeah.
smart design,
Yeah.
there's a lot that we should try to stay abreast of and try to, anything that can help.
So would it have to be an actual speed hump, or could it be a paint or thermoplastic or some other?
It's a hump, they're humps.
I understand that, but I didn't know if there's any other option for,
Yeah,
It's the same height as the sidewalk.
wow.
In Portland, they do some thermal.
Yeah, they got the
Yeah,
They
green.
set you in front of the,
Mhm.
like on Williams, I used to like that.
mhm.
It's not kind of a quick thing, but it's.
Yeah. But I mean,
Yeah, a lot of like.
something hybrid, even that's.
I guess my concern is with pedestrian, like territorial, for instance, bringing something that's kind of turning into a jump. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if we're gonna lower the speed through there, we're at 30 right now.
Yeah.
In Europe, they're used when you're going from an arterial into a residential area.
As you're going in.
Yeah, so it would be inappropriate to have it across territorial.
That's, okay, that's what I was.
That's just that idea. I mean, if you want to put a speed bump in on territorial, that would be a good place to put it and make it up the crossing, and you'd have that effect.
I think you're gonna have to take Jeff on your next trip to Europe, so we can get a better chance of
We're
seeing.
doing Jeff's anyway, Jeff's gonna fund it for me.
Yeah.
And council's gonna pay.
So,
Yeah, Jeff, we need to give Jeff a little bit of a break here, because he's moving into another role here.
I know, I know.
It's July, so.
yeah. But anyway, I think I'll.
And I don't want to sound like a broken record as well, but I think kind of preferences throughout the city and kind of the discussion of, what are good options that are also fiscally responsible and therefore
Exactly.
more likely to be implemented is a good conversation to have with the transportation engineers when we do the TSP. They kind of know this stuff off the top of their head and they can give us a lot of information about that.
That'll be a great resource.
And that's your
I'm gonna
background.
say that every single meeting.
And
but-
that's your background, isn't it?
I
Transportation planning?
eat transportation planning, these are more the engineers that deal with like I was more about the implementing the policy of transportation plans, but the engineers are really great, and they know the ones that we have hired for the TSP.
I think you're being a bit
They
modest,
know
but
their
your
stuff.
expertise is known.
I didn't deal with any of the dollars.
But still, we're lucky to have you. So appreciate that. Yeah, anything further on? Yeah, and so I will look, with the TSP, I'd love to hear what some of their ideas for updates on traffic safety, pedestrian safety.
Even the Clackamas County bike ped plan, even if you see some great things in there, I'm sure you could, kind of get some inspiration from them.
You're going to see something that came from the walk bike.
Yes,
Shall we move on
I
to
have
that?
it, I have the.
Bruce, go ahead.
You start talking once the mouse starts
All right,
working.
so, the county is reviewing its TSP plan, and they have a committee called the Walk and Bike Plan, I think is the name of it. And anyway, we have one representative from the Bike Head Committee on it, and I'm the alternate. But not anybody can attend, so I've attended. And one of the things came up was a county-wide crash map between cyclists and vehicles. And so I have it for the whole county, but Scott Archie was good enough to get the city academy blown up for us, which is up there. And this is in a 5-year period. I don't have the dates in front of me. I think it was 2020 to 2020. It's in the last 5 years, anyway. So it's all current, and I'm surprised how many crashes we had. And this map is created by ODOT. So it was either a police report that generated it, or it was a motor vehicle report. If you're in an accident, you got to.
Jeff, did you see that? I did, I looked at it when I came in here.
And so I've looked at that, and especially the concerning to me is the two dots on Ivy. I'm saying, is that a problem? I'm kind of wondering what happened down on 13th. There's two of them on 13th. And so, and there's one, I first thought it was at the logging road territorial crossing, but as I look closer, it's not. But anyway, it's talking to Scott Archer, because we worked quite a bit together. We're thinking about, we have a hotspot program, and usually if we first started, we'd have lots of hotspots each month, and now it's time, we're starting to trickle down to not much, and we're going, well, we should look at each of these crashes in the county and say, is there something we could or should be doing? And so I'm going to say the same thing here. We should look at those spots, and what else I learned was that we can get the actual report on each of those crash sites, so we can find out what actually happened. Scott says he thinks we can get it. And so, anyway, my recommendation to the committee is let's look at these spots. Is there an interest in diving into those 6 spots more? Is it, it could be just a simple case where the cyclist blows the stop and, And
This is only cyclists, Bruce, not pedestrians?
only cyclists is what I understand.
Okay. I'd be curious to see pedestrians.
Yeah,
Me too.
Usually it's a separate map. for pedestrians.
Is it?
yeah.
Yeah,
You
we
said
could
that-
do a side by side.
And
We
it's
should
a walk
probably
and
have,
bike.
if we're gonna do one, we should do both.
So if we can get it.
Yeah,
You said that was a public record, Brianna?
It's a,
Yeah.
no, you're good. I mean, it's definitely like public record. I just don't know if it's all co-visibly in one place or we could ask one person, but if we can get to the right person.
Well,
to open
Scott was
our-
ready to get it all for me. I said, well, wait a minute, let me see if the committee thinks they want it.
I mean, yeah, I think that would be good information for.
one observation that I think is interesting is that on 13th, well, that's not as close to a school as what I thought, but their 13th is feeders to our junior high schools and our high school. So that's kind of a safe route to school zone. And then up on North Cedar,
Isn't this the high school right here?
correct.
And
So-
their bike lanes are all the way along 13th, so it's kind of like,
Yeah.
what
This
happened?
might be 5-year-old information, you thought?
No older than 5 years.
Within the past 5
So
years.
I'm just thinking some of that's built out now, correct?
Yes.
Oh, good.
And actually, this map is out of date because our UGB goes on here.
Mhm.
But the county doesn't. They're still represent that.
So I think I kind of missed that. Did you say that this is over the last 5 years?
Yes.
Okay. Would it be possible if we're requesting the data on the pedestrians, would it be possible to go back maybe 10 years and just get, I feel like it would be better to have even more data points if possible, as a research person.
We're piggybacking on the walk bike plan. And it was put together for them. So
Okay. Is it data?
we'll get anything we want, but I thought if I can get it,
Mhm. And
There's something to be learned, is what you're saying. I think we ought to learn it.
yeah, let's learn what we get, if we can get it. I'll ask about the pedestrian, if there's a pedestrian crash map.
yeah, and the one there between Cedar and right close to where the hand is there right now, right, that one is close to a school too. So, I'm just noticing, I don't know that they were school kids, but it does kind of fall into school zones. So,
Traffic Safety Committee would love to get this information.
yeah, I think we should all,
Well, let's get the whole thing together, and we'll push it to them.
yeah.
Bruce, if Scott can't, get you the maps exactly, if he could even tell us, who he's talking to get the information, I'd be happy to do some further investigation.
Let me take it, let me go back to him and see what happens,
Yeah.
and then we'll work through that. Okay. So anyway, my thought is, I'd like to do the same thing on the county level with that committee. And we may pick and choose maybe which ones, but there's only 6 here, and so it's not a big look.
And I'm just thinking too, Jeff and Greg, you might have comment, and it's within 5 years, but I'm realizing we have the Ivy Street improvements going on. So 2 of those, we hope will have improved with better
Sidewalks.
facility. Yeah.
Also look at the Art Road.
And
Out of
then
town.
you're thinking along 13th, we might have had some improvements there too.
I guess that's what I was thinking about, reviewing older data, is like some of these places grow up, it's like we've actually,
Yeah.
addressed,
Yeah.
met the needs of some of this.
Yeah.
Probably, especially like South Ivy, I know they're getting ready to they're working on a project in that area, so.
Right.
Exactly.
Right,
But those
And-
bike
and
lanes on
to,
13th have been there a long time.
yeah. Well, I think let's see what's happened. He said,
Yeah.
maybe there isn't anything that needs to be done. Maybe this is, somebody's just being careless, I don't know. But
Well-
I think it's due diligence as we
Yeah.
go.
When you see a pattern going on, you gotta.
Yeah.
Can I ask, with I'm not super familiar where all of our bike lanes are and everything are yet, for you all who know the city well, just looking at it, what's your first, is it just lack of bike lanes of what you think might kind of be at the root of it? Is there something that
Yes.
jumps out immediately, like, oh, there's some patterns here?
The
What happened?
first thing that jumps out at me is that we have, going further down North Ivy Street, we have some good bike lanes, and you can see there's no crashes there. That's great. The other thing that I noticed, we haven't improved South Ivy yet, and that gets a lot of pedestrian bike
Yeah,
traffic. So,
definitely need more
just like what we were saying.
Yeah.
And then,
And routes to school.
Well, and this one right here on 99, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of shocking to me.
And then that one up there at the corner of Territorial, right?
Yeah. and
Forest
then-
Road path, I believe.
No,
No,
No.
the horse road's over here, right?
No,
that's fine.
and
that's fine, it's in between, you see where all the roads
Yep.
don't cross, that is where the logging road
Oh,
is.
okay.
mhm.
It's about where the A is in Territorial.
Yeah, and also going down to the 99, you can see that there's no crossings,
Mhm.
for a long stretch. So someone was, I'm guessing, trying to cross on a bike or something like that. I don't know that.
Ours on the shoulder, you got hit.
There's two.
Yeah,
You know,
Yeah,
cars that
again.
just roll up on the sidewalks right there.
yeah. So really valuable data to, so I think we should make sure we share it with appropriate city staff to.
Yes, I can share with Brianna, who's the traffic subcommittee chair, and have her forward this along.
And then when we get stuff like this, perfect question for you guys here. I'd like to run it by and then, really have your comments like, this is pretty much taken care of with this, this, and this. And, if we come up with a pedestrian one or whatever, because that kind of
I'm not
checks the
saying it's
box.
taken care of, but I was just out of the box. I was thinking, well, some of these might have been addressed. so,
Yeah,
Yeah.
or soon to be,
Or soon to be.
yeah.
Oh, so you want to know, like, what changes have happened?
Yeah, because like, we
In
know
terms
the
of
Ivy Street
improvements.
project is.
Yeah, or where it's in the pipeline.
Yeah, or like some things have improved already on 13th, and if it already, did these, and it'll be worth our knowing, did these accidents happen before or after
Mhm.
our improvements?
I need to see it year to year. I know that'd be terrible, but
I know.
to gather, but if
Well,
you
it's
can
only
see.
6 things, so
Yeah.
I mean, it can't be that hard for
Yeah,
us to
we'll
figure
get
it out,
through
right?
it.
I'm more worried
Yeah.
about figuring out when the street's getting bumped.
Yeah, I don't want to make it difficult, but yeah,
Right, but I mean,
Yeah.
if we look at it and it's right here and we go, oh, well, look, there's a bike lane there now.
yeah,
The guy, and it says in the report, he wasn't in the bike lane, he was in the street.
yeah.
It'll be pretty evident, right? So
Anyway, yeah, how to best use this.
it's not like we're gonna go through 100 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
well,
Well, thanks for doing this.
yeah.
It's not very-
I just came across it, so it's kind of like, okay, let's,
And like down there, over there, close to where the hand is,
Here?
oh, no, going over to south, go to the far left,
Barlow.
out of town,
our,
Oh, out here.
there, yeah. And that has a bike lane.
Yep.
Yeah, anyway, but
Well,
that's moving.
that's where bike
Oh,
lanes
down
start.
there.
Anyway, it's out of the
yeah,
city.
but there's no bike lane right here.
Yeah,
Isn't ODOT working on?
but Jeff, you should know, you shouldn't go that way, you should go the
I
other
see
way.
people do it
Yeah.
all the time,
Yeah.
though.
Yeah, I do
All
too.
day, every day, there's
I-
people that ride their bikes through there because they don't know.
Right.
Dangerous to me.
It is.
yeah.
It's really
Well,
dangerous,
it's
especially that
safer to
corner.
go the other way, you got a bike lane and a quarter of the road.
I have been a squeaky wheel on that, but to no avail. I just think there should be some wayfinding signs directing them off of Knightsbridge.
And the county level will have a chance. You take that accident site and say, okay, now we need a sign. We need to make that a hot spot. And then
But it's not on that actual spot.
I know, but it does present, okay, that's true.
But at the same time, doggone
Try it.
it. Okay. Thank you.
Try to take it to Joel and see what happens.
Yeah. I know one of the comments though, and maybe it's worth having a quick comment on that. So knowing that the preferred safer route is to go on Barlow Road to Arndt Road, people are saying, well, you're having to make 2 left-hand turns. But honestly, those 2 left-hand turns are probably safer than riding that road. Is that the consensus of this committee?
I agree.
Mhm.
No question about it.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
I mean, it would have been safer if they just put a bike lane in all the way around right there.
It would cost $7 million as of 10 years ago, so.
When they put that road in,
Yeah.
when they repaved that road,
So,
it was gonna be $7 million when they repaved that road.
no, to add in the bike lane. So,
More asphalt.
more
Yeah.
asphalt,
Because
widening.
it isn't just asphalt, they have to put
Yeah. and they have
the
to
gravel
do the
down to
ditch
make it,
and
so
the-
if they expanded the road
everything.
someday,
Yeah.
it would meet road standards, so you're talking,
Easements, property.
Yeah.
yeah,
So
even if you
that-
have the land.
Yeah.
Just all that fill.
It was marked out as to do that at 7 million in the, when they revised the active transportation plan for the county in 2013. And, yeah, and I don't know if I should have kept my mouth shut or not, but I said, well, you could put a wayfinding sign and direct them to where there's already bike lanes and not have to spend like that money, but maybe it's, I don't know. Anyway, okay. Okay, Bruce, any further update from
The county.
county?
I think this was, the important thing was the crash map.
Great.
We reviewed the Linwood project, which is, Linwood is a fairly busy arterial in Milwaukee. It's not out of the, there's no city there, so it's a county, and it's several, I think a couple miles along they're putting in not a bike lane, a pedestrian, a multi-use path on both sides of the road. And we're writing a letter trying to get it to be all the same color, same continuous material, and ladders on driveways, because there's lots of driveways there. And of course, people are parking their cars across sidewalks and multi-use paths and blocking it, that doesn't work. Also, we're trying to make them aware that, hey, they just can't just turn in their driveway. Somebody's coming down 16, 18 miles an hour on a bike.
And
So
it's,
anyway, I don't know what's gonna happen there. That's the letter got caught in a filter today.
and I was just gonna say, that's between, Linwood between King Road and Johnson Creek. And so it's
Correct.
kind of one of the main north-south arterials.
And eventually, it will all connect from 990 all the way out to 205, utilizing this connection.
So it's a big,
And let's see what else was there. Our main speaker had a power outage, so that's why he didn't show. And that was on the Olympic Discovery Trail. And that was it. Anything else, Wendy?
No.
Okay.
thanks. And Britt, any updates or comments on outreach?
I don't have any comments on outreach, but I am in about 2.5 weeks. I'm going to be out of the country, and if all goes as planned, I will be in Colombia, and I think I talked about that before, how they have actually done a lot of progressive things in Bogota as far as the bike and pedestrian enhancement goes to help with greater transportation equity. And so I will try to make some observations wherever I go and maybe take pictures of any interesting things if it seems good.
Wow.
And maybe I could share that next time if there is anything that I observe.
Boy, I'd love to see that.
Yeah.
I always learn about transportation when I go to other countries. Everybody has a little different take on it.
Yeah.
How long are you going to be there? That should be fascinating.
I'm going to be there about 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks.
Thank you, and
Is
have a
this
great
pleasure,
time.
or is this business or pleasure?
Pleasure.
Yay,
Great.
good.
All right. So sometimes we do, sometimes we don't have, usually we have a hybrid meeting November, December, but now, do we want to meet on December 6th or wait till the new year? Any comments, thoughts?
I would be out of town.
Yeah, I will be away on December 6th. I'll still be down there.
Shall we?
I'll be celebrating St. Nicholas Day.
December 6th,
That's that day? Yeah.
December 6th is, you're the second.
Oh,
so it's
sorry, the
13th.
13th. Oh, let's do it shall we skip our December meeting and go to January? Would that be terrible, or is that okay?
It's a good idea because the 13th is St. Lucia Day.
Okay.
You are helpful when it comes to.
So January 10th, is
All right.
anything on that day?
So what day would that
So
be?
January
January
10th?
10th gets Cliff's approval.
So Bike Ped, January 10th, and will we be meeting here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is everyone okay with meeting
I'll
in
just
here?
sit up there.
Okay.
Yes.
It's much easier from a setup and it seems to work better with the recordings.
Where are you?
We're just upstairs in the Mount Hood room, so like the stairs across from the council chambers,
Okay.
conference room right in the front.
The visual is really good and it's interesting. It just does its own zooming in and out and moving around.
Yeah, it's called an owl and it knows, it can like hear and it knows where people are. So if someone's talking down there, it will shift to where people are talking. It's smart. And it's a much smaller room, so like sound and visuals, I feel like are much easier than council chambers.
The only thing that was interesting is when Jeff at the end of the table was talking, it would zoom in on Mindy.
Oh.
Well, maybe I'll have to tell IT about that.
It sounds like a better system than what we're using on the county level.
Yeah, it does. I think so. I even thought last month's, one of the other microphones at one of the city meetings was a lot better than the county had to. So,
Technology on this is exploding. Every city in the country is going to these models and.
That reminds me, one staff
100%.
update.
I mean, you can always make a meeting, or at least.
one staff
Just
update.
in case anyone happens to be looking, the last meeting did not go up online because the audio never recorded. It didn't pick up any of the audio, which was my fault. I apologize. We tested it beforehand and we thought it worked, and then nothing happened. So if you happen to be looking for that meeting, that's why it's not there, because it would just be silence.
Well, as my dad used to say, it's the price we pay for being human.
Yeah.
I think really quick about the sound, even somebody at the other end of the room sounds just as good as like Mindy and Jeff.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's good, because I've been yelling.
This is called the owl.
The owl. I'm going to take
That's
a
what I've
picture
heard
of
it been
it.
called, is an owl. I don't know if it's like the brand or what.
Yeah.
Well, kudos to you guys for giving those.
That's it, that's it.
Better what we're doing.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.